Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and assorted people of the internet. Welcome to Pets of the Mind. Tonight, you bear witness to the premiere of a brand new Pets of the Mind radio play. And in fact, we're trying something new this time. If you've seen our past radio plays, both here and on our previous channel, the X Pound, which you can find on YouTube, you've noticed that our previous radio plays, ranging from Ghostbusters Legacy all the way up to the recently passed Ruin Runners, have all run for an 8-week period. We decided this time to extend the next radio play to a 16-week period and see how well that runs. This radio play is entitled Disney Heroes, because we're not original. I am the co-creator of this production, along with Chris the Mole, who unfortunately could not be here this evening, but he will be joining us for next week's episode with all due luck. Joining me for today's episode, however, are two of our other cast members, besides myself and my co-creator. You know them, you love them. Oh, you love one of them. Please welcome the one you love, Richter Hammer.
Hi, everybody.
And the other guy, Marcus Shadow.
And speaking of something new, I'm back, bitches!
The other guy.
You should know that the Marcus Shadow is back on probation. We'll see how it goes.
I'm back. I'm filling in for Pew. Let's be honest here.
Yeah,
Thing.
Yeah, Anastasia chose not to participate in this radio play, so we're going to have Marcus back as a replacement. So, as mentioned, this radio play is going to be a little bit about a... you've probably seen this idea used in different things before. Basically, what would happen if people had to actually fight Disney villains? Let's be honest, that's what it is. We've tried to come up with something unique that we hope you will enjoy. So, we're going to go ahead and begin the premiere episode, which I have not named. I don't think we're going to name the episodes for this one, so I'm going to go with it. Yeah, pilot. Sure, why not? Let's open this up. So. It was a beautiful sunshine afternoon in Orlando, Florida. Two men waited in a conference room at one of Disney's Florida studios on the outskirts of the Walt Disney World Resort compound. They were summoned here for a very special purpose, one that they do not yet fully comprehend. As the two men sit in the conference room, being the only two there, they begin to strike up a conversation.
Hello there.
Hello. Any idea why we're actually here?
No, just got a message to meet here. I'm not actually quite sure what's up, but hello, my name is David. David extends his arm.
Nice to meet you, David. My name is Jeff. Jeff shakes his hand. Don't you find it a little bit odd that two middle-aged men were asked to come to Disney World in the dead of night?
Yes, but I don't know. The world is filled with strange things. But as far as I know, we're supposed to meet something about the old applications to be a Mouseketeer. God, I didn't think my brother signing me up for that was gonna keep coming back to haunt me, but apparently it is.
You were pulled in because of that Mouseketeer thing, too? Geez, I thought we were done with that 16 years ago.
I did too, but apparently not. Maybe they're doing some kind of reboot thing. Seems to be all the rage in Hollywood movies these days.
True, and they reboot younger with 30-year-old men, so I guess we kind of fit the bill.
Does seem to be that way.
As the two continue conversing, the door to the conference room opens, and another young man enters, wearing relatively formally dressed, wearing a vest, dress shirt, and a tie. Gentlemen, welcome to our studio. I apologize for keeping you waiting. I was dealing with something else. You're probably wondering why you're here. Let me begin by introducing myself. My name is Noah Johnson, and I'm one of the Imagineers here at Disney, or at least I work with the Imagineers. Hopefully I'll be one before long, but that's my story and not the reason we're here. Now, as the two of you may or may not realize, but about 16 years ago, through whatever means, both of you were on applications to become Mouseketeers in a little reboot we were doing. What would have been the fourth incarnation of the well-known Mickey Mouse Club that I'm sure you obviously know from our well-known company history. Of course, the Mouseketeers were originally put together back in the 1950s as actually, originally it was simply a Walt Disney fan club. It was actually the first incarnation, most don't know this, was in the 1930s, simply as a fan club for Disney products, but it grew so much out of the original club that was in Ocean Park, California, that they ended up having to shut some of those down because it was so hard to manage and was getting out of control. But the one you probably know is the TV show from the 50s. Of course, some of the more famous members, people like Annette Funicello, you've probably heard of. Well, there were several other incarnations. You might know one of the more recent ones. People like Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears were in our fine group, Ryan Gosling, a number of others. Of course, it was a variety show. The idea of, using kids to represent the fandom of Disney, as it were, and provide some entertainment, for the country in a variety show format. Of course, everyone sees it as being a bit cheesy. I'm sure you two feel the same way. Everyone looks at that and kind of makes it a joke. It's been parodied to all end by this point in time. But enough of my rambling backstory. I'm going to get to a bit of truth here, and this is going to sound a little out there, but I only ask you to bear with me just for a little while. Now, the Mouseketeers have, as I mentioned, been around for quite a long time. But, now, you think about this, okay, clever idea for a variety show with kids, but why, why would such an idea have been brought back so many times, especially something that began so early on before it was even a TV show? What makes the idea of the Mouseketeers enduring? And the question one has to ask is there more to the Mouseketeers than just a fan club and a popular television program? Is there something behind the organization known as the Mickey Mouse Club? The truth is, there is. And the reason I've asked you two here is because the applications from 16 years ago were the last attempted recruitment of a group of Mouseketeers. And right now, we didn't have time to recanvass, and, well, those applications didn't just determine, people who might be good on a TV show. There was more to it than that. There was more studying and analysis of the names that were selected as potential additions to the show from the applications that were submitted. Analysis of personality traits that might be useful, as it were. Let me just say it this way. You've all heard the idea of the magic behind the Walt Disney Company, Walt Disney World, everything that we do. The word magic is one of our bywords. The truth of the matter is, the magic around here is a little more than just a byword. There's a reason Walt Disney was so good at what he does, and a reason why this empire persists as you see it and know it today. I need your help, because there's something out of the ordinary involving the magic going on here. Something that is getting a little out of hand. We need those who are known to have true hearts. Those who have not been corrupted by the world around them as many people have. Those who still at least have the capacity to believe in the magic. And based on your previous applications and analysis of who you are today, we believe that you then and now possess those traits, among others, not only the two of you. We've spoken to several others who could not be here today, several of whom are already working with our organization, and whom, if you choose to help us with this little project, you'll meet later on. So, my question, gentlemen, is if you're willing to entertain the idea of something beyond the reasonable, something beyond what would seem possible, something both dangerous and magical. And again, I know I'm sounding crazy here, but just I ask you to bear with me. Assuming that you were to believe that there is something supernatural going on here, if you will, that there is something more behind the magic that has made and permeated everything that has been created since Walt Disney founded this company all those years ago. Would you two be interested in helping me?
Jeff crosses his arms and closes his eyes as he thinks for a moment. Well, Dave, what do you think?
I should be noted, of course, given that you are assisting our organization, you would, of course, be paid.
David tilts his head to the side and lifts one of his eyebrows, staring at Noah. So, you are saying that magic is real? Well, it seems an odd claim, considering there's been no real evidence of it, but you claim to have proof, so he then turns to Jeff. I don't see a reason not to at least see if he can prove it.
Perhaps. Noah, was it? You do realize I am a computer scientist, and you're asking me to believe in something that has thus far been unquantifiable.
I know. Believe me, you're not the only one who's had to overcome quite a few doubts in this sort of thing. And as I said, if at the end of this brief first excursion, you decide that this is not something you can truly believe in, you would of course be free to go. Obviously, there's no obligation here. We just asked because it seemed like you two, among the others that we have recruited, are qualified in certain ways you may not realize to help us. I'll put it to you this way. If you'll go along with me just a little bit longer, Noah reaches into his pocket and pulls out 2 passes. I will show you, or at least take an opportunity to show you that what I say is not as cracked up as it sounds when you first hear it. He lays the passes on the table. Obviously, the Magic Kingdom, our premier park here in Florida, is not far from this facility. These passes will get you past the guards and allow you into the park. They're very high clearance, let's just say, within our company. If you can get to the park around closing time, when the guests have, for the most part, left, the park will still be open, quote-unquote, as the cleaning crew and security will still be tending to the facility for the next day's events. If you show up a little later tonight, after closing, and meet me, say, in front of Cinderella Castle, the center of the park, it's fairly easy to find, straight shot down Main Street, USA. Give me the benefit of a few hours this evening to show you that what I say is not a fabrication and that I'm not crazy. And if at that point you still are not interested, that'll be the end of it.
Jeff opens his eyes. I may be willing to give you the benefit of the doubt, but answer me one question, Noah. He turns and looks over at David and smirks. You say that you were looking for those with the truest of hearts. He then turns back to Noah. So tell me then, why are there 2 middle-aged men sitting here instead of women? Or is that by design?
You raise a valid question. As I mentioned, we have a variety of people working for our organization. Of course, there is an inequality, but at this point we are going based on those who, of course, were willing to respond to our invitation and come down here. Not everybody has the free time or the, more straightforward interest in things related to Disney at the age that you and, let's face it, I are at this point, as they did 16 years ago when the application process began. I would imagine that more folks will be joining us down the line, and don't doubt that there aren't a number of women in a similar situation working for us, but they are assigned to other tasks and helping us in other ways. In this case, for this particular group, it was purely by coincidence that we happened to end up with a number of our male respondents here instead of our female respondents. It certainly wasn't by design, purely by chance.
David reaches and grabs one of the passes and slides it toward him. He lifts it up and begins absentmindedly reading it while answering Noah. You know what? It seems kind of crazy, but who knows? You may have, sometimes crazy works. So, yeah, I'll be back to check it out. At the very least, I got a story. My brother will freak out. He was a huge Disney fan back in the day. He then flips the pass over and looks at the back. So, at the very least, I'll be here later tonight, Mr. Noah.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear it, Mr. Keith. And you, Mr. Chan?
Later tonight, huh? He glances out.
All I ask is one night. After tonight, the choice is yours.
He glances out the windows and notices sunlight streaming in. Well, damn. I guess that's what happens when you get stuck in a room with no windows every freaking day. You lose track of time.
Very true.
Very well. Jeff stands up and unfolds his arms, smoothing out his tie. You've got me for one night, Noah. He reaches out and takes the pass.
Excellent. I'll see you gentlemen this evening. And maybe, if the truest hearts are truly within you, you'll believe as I do. Noah stands up and heads out of the room. You two remember where you came in. The receptionist can help show you out if you need to. I'll see you tonight. Noah exits the room and the other two head out of the facility, pondering the mysterious offer that has been extended to them. As the sun fades over Orlando, the Walt Disney World theme park closes for the evening, the guests leaving in droves to head back home, as the maintenance crew begins making their rounds to clean up the park, tend to the attractions, and ensure that everything is prepared for another day's business the following morning. At the primary park, the Magic Kingdom, similar activities are occurring. Noah sits on a bench in front of Cinderella Castle. Main Street USA splayed out before him, and the lack of guests allowing him to see all the way to the monorail station and the ferry boat docking. As Noah awaits, he sees his two guests arriving.
David walks up and tucks the pass into his pocket. All right, we're here. I'm ready to see this magic.
Indeed, if such magic exists.
Excellent. Follow me, gentlemen. Noah begins walking up the drawbridge toward the door of Cinderella Castle as the other two follow him. Now, allow me to entertain you with a bit of a tale. A tale that very few have heard before. They continue walking as Noah speaks. Thousands of years ago, there was an organization known as the Order of the Truest Hearts. You see, the Truest Heart thing isn't just a byline either. And this order was charged with using magic to protect the world from a great darkness, Pandora's darkness.
Wait. Pandora as in Greek mythology Pandora?
That is part of where the legend came from, yes.
Oh, brother.
Indeed. The darkness was released inadvertently, and so the Order, using their magic, armed themselves with hats and magical wands of great power to combat the darkness. Unfortunately, the evil grew stronger than the Order was able to maintain, and inevitably the Order fell, and they were wiped out. However, they left one last hope to defeat this darkness. the Order was able to use their magic to influence the, let's just say, birth of a young man, a man you've probably heard of, a man named Walter Elias Disney. And again, just follow me here because it's going to get deeper than that. As they enter Cinderella Castle, Noah leads them into the formal dining establishment contained within the castle, known as the Cinderella. Cinderella's royal table. Before I continue on with that story, something interesting here. Let me ask, have you gentlemen ever heard the tale of Club 33 over in our Western Park?
I have heard about it. I've never been in there myself, of course, but...
Of course, only exclusive guests willing to shell out quite a bit are able to attend it. Well, as you know, Walt Disney had that specifically created for VIP guests to have a place to step away from the overarching crowds of Disneyland. Originally, the plans in Walt Disney World included a Club 33 as well. It was actually going to be right here in the castle, right in this dining hall. Unfortunately, as you may know, Mr. Disney passed away before the park was completed, and after his passing, it was determined that a public sit-down dining restaurant would be needed here in the Magic Kingdom, and rather than build a second facility, which was seen as cost prohibitive, they converted this one, unfortunately costing the Club 33 here its primary location. However, what most don't know is that there is a lower floor to this facility, one that my organization within Disney was able to come into possession of. As they walk through the dining room, Noah steps through the fine dining room up to a wall with a candelabra on it near one of the side booths. He grabs the candelabra and pushes the base upward. A click can be heard, and a of mechanics as the wall slides over, revealing a stairway and a passage.
Wow, that's cliche.
It's cliche, but you have to remember we've kind of been doing this for almost 80 years now. Everything gets cliche in that time.
I will admit, it's give you a little bit of a bonus point there for that. It's surprised you went there.
Well, even those of us with loyalty can be honest now and again. The group began heading down the stairs. Now, as I mentioned, the Order of the Truest Hearts used their magic to influence Walt Disney even before he was born, to bestow upon him abilities that he would not truly understand until later, passing on what of their magic they could so that there would be some way to combat the darkness that was lurking in the shadows, having been freed. The darkness overpowered the Order, but still wasn't strong enough to take on the world as a whole. There was still too much light abounding in the world proper. And Walt Disney, upon reaching appropriate age, upon being informed of his destiny via both the magic and some documents left behind for him, he was able to effectively take over the Order of the Truest Hearts as the last remaining member, bringing in some more members as time went on. This is the group that I and several others within the Walt Disney Company are part of to this day. Walt used the magic to combat the darkness back when he was founding everything, the 30s and 40s. He was able to use this magic to trap the darkness that had been on the loose for several decades by that time. He contained it in a vault, if you will, the Disney Vault. Again, another byline that's not quite a byline.
So the vault seals in this evil and movies that people want to purchase?
The concept of the Disney Vault as storing our classic films for occasional release is more marketing than anything else. There isn't a physical vault with our movies, but there is an actual vault that, at least up until recently, was able to contain the darkness.
Good to know, David nods.
Unfortunately, some of those not privy to the order in our organization made some judgment calls in our productions that have not boded well. You may have noticed recently, not only among our company, there seems to be a movement of villains becoming popular. You've no doubt seen it in our productions, things like our recent films, Maleficent, our Disney Channel original movie, Disney Descendants, among a number of others, and not just from us, from other companies as well, where villains are being held up and glorified, loved as much as the heroes are. And unfortunately, the darkness, it taps into the hearts of people everywhere. That is what powered the darkness in the first place. If you could think back to around the time of the World Wars and everything else, there was a lot of darkness in the world in those times. Even before. Walt was able to use the light. He was able to power the light by making the films that you know. Snow White, Pinocchio, Cinderella, so many more, television programs. Everything Walt did to bring happiness and joy to people helped build the light in the hearts primarily of children, but even adults such as yourselves and myself who still believe even after many years. This light was able to keep the darkness at bay and seal it in the vault. Unfortunately, with the recent trend toward villainhood and the popularity of villains, this has had a side effect of causing the darkness to grow as well. Despite the villains bringing joy to people in this manner, being that it is support for negative deeds and things like that, even with redemption in many of these productions, the darkness still gained power, and after all the years of being held in the vault, unfortunately the vault began developing a few cracks, as it were.
So let me get this straight, assuming I believe you, which for the record I don't. What you're saying is that because people are now beginning to believe in those that are bad, whatever's in Pandora's box is now trying to break out?
That is generally the idea, with the newfound belief and power in the hearts of those in favor of villainhood. These demons, if you will, are beginning to gain more of a foothold, crack through the vault. And it's becoming a bit of a problem. A few have slipped through already, and we are attempting to find a way to address the problem with the vault, but unfortunately, we are not Walt Disney. There is a limit to what was passed down and the abilities we have, particularly with, again, the hearts of those in the state that they are, powering the villains. We had originally... The reason the Mouseketeers have been around so long, as I mentioned earlier, is that Walt Disney founded a group, particularly of young children whose hearts were more filled with the goodness and belief, to help form a group that would protect the vault, to become young members of the Order to keep it going. Back in 2000 was our last attempt to bring in a new group. We haven't had one since the 70s or 80s, as you recall. So it's been a while since we've had a group of protectors. Unfortunately, we got a little arrogant with ourselves and thought everything would be all right, but when these cracks started forming and these demons began slipping out, well, we had no choice but to go to the last batch of applications we had. There's no time to put out another, which is the reason the two of you, among others, were called. The group arrives in a base deep underneath Cinderella Castle. The room is filled with a number of people working on computers, with a number of Disney decorations all around the room, including some artifacts from Disney's past. So, to get back to the reason why I've called you here, welcome to Mouseketeer headquarters. We've adopted the moniker to refer to our little section of the Order. It's easier when discussing things out in public to keep things incognito, if you will. These are the fine folks who are monitoring the vault, tracking the magic. Those who, like myself, are planted in various positions in the company who still believe. We try to keep at least one or two here at all times to keep track of the darkness and what's going on, and to attempt to devise ways to, well, contain it, or destroy it if that's even possible. We're still not sure. What we have been able to do, though, is using our technology, we've been able to find a way to help fight off these demons. You see, as I mentioned, these demons are gaining power from the love of not just ours, but primarily our popular villains. No doubt you know a lot of them by name. And because the demons are granting power from this, as the demons have been escaping, they've been taking the forms of these villains. Whether it's because in admiration for these villains' abilities in our productions, whether it's merely a convenient form, I don't know. But we need to obviously stop these demons before. Right now it's only cracks in the vault, and we're able to, or have been thus far, able to keep things contained. But we don't know how long that's going to last. Cracks in the vault are only going to get worse. So we're trying to put together this team. The two of you, myself, and another young man that I've recruited previously, another gentleman who has been helping our organization, will be the primary defense against this, and our other groups will occasionally send members over as needed if we find ourselves in need of additional help, again, if you choose to assist us. Now, your next question is probably how exactly would we expect you to fight off demons posing as popular Disney villains?
That would be a very logical next question, yes. Because we are just, as was put, middle-aged men. I don't think, I don't really have any martial arts training. Sure, I run, but I'm not a fighter per se.
Don't worry. That was one of the things we had been developing. We knew for a long time that there was a risk of the darkness getting out. There always had been. So while some were content to simply let things be, some of the rest of us, mostly my predecessors, decided to take some initiative to develop some technology that could be used to combat the darkness in the event that this ever occurred. Walt Disney came up with the initial plans for these before he passed away, and we've been able to modernize them and update them in the intervening time. You may remember that the original members of the Order fought using magic wands and hats. Well, we haven't been able to replicate that level of power, but we have been able to convert the good magic that is still present. Obviously, the heroes and the goodness is still beloved and in everyone's hearts. That has never gone away. So there is still the light magic that we can use to combat it, and we have been able to channel it into these. As Noah continues walking, the two follow him, and he steps over to a wall where there is a case. Pressing a button next to the case opens with a sssss. Inside the case sit a number of what appear to be high-tech watches. Now, I know they look like an ordinary watch, but not quite. These watches are equipped with a combination of technology and the aforementioned light magic that will allow us to use the magic to combat this darkness in whatever form it might take. We refer to these as the Mouseketeer Timekeepers, or MTKs for short.
Interesting.
Indeed. We're hoping that with the correct users for this technology, we can either retrap the darkness or, if at all possible, banish it forever so that this threat never comes to the world again. What these will do is these will tap into the light that, based on our evaluations, does still live in your hearts despite your age. And they will give you the abilities of an assortment of well-known Disney heroes, effectively allowing you to use the skills you've seen from the many heroes to combat the villain forms that the darkness will take. After all, if the dark magic can take the forms of villains, why can't the good magic take the forms of heroes, right?
That seems very logical, yeah.
So, you've heard my tale as it stands right now. This is where we are. The last thing I'll ask you to do before you make a final decision is to try one of these on, each of you. and let's see what happens.
Okay, fair enough. David reaches out and grabs one.
Jeff pulls his watch off his wrist and shoves it in his jacket pocket before picking up one of the empty case. He feels the weight of it in his hand and flips it around and looks at it and just stares at it for a moment. Whew. This is some Stark Tech level stuff, man. I've never seen technology like this.
Indeed, there is a reason we work like this in secret. We had to go beyond tech that was seen to combat this level of darkness. We needed something that would be able to channel the good magic without the types of ancient devices predisposed to handling this that were lost many, many decades ago. We had to improvise. It took, as I mentioned, Walt Disney initially came up with a concept for these devices before he passed away over 60 years ago. We've been working on finding technology advanced enough to bring these to light, and luckily we managed to pull it off in time before, well, this happened.
Well, I guess this is the moment of truth. Jeff affixes the wristwatch to his left wrist, and for a moment nothing happens. And all of a sudden, wind kicks up around his feet as a colored aura appears around him. The aura begins to flicker as the display on the watch becomes a holographic display, displaying outlines of various Disney characters, settling on 3. 1, an old merman with a trident. The second one appears to be a majestic lion. The third one, a small dragon. Okay.
Care to give it a shot, David?
Yes. Wow, that's... David is partially absorbed in examining the watch as best he can. Oh, yeah, sure. He then puts it on and fastens it. He begins poking and prodding at it some more when eventually it activates. It starts to glow and shows 3 projected images. One, what appears to be like a man, but with a wisp of a tail instead of legs. The other, a large creature in armor with wings. And the third one, another differently shaped creature with wings and a scowling look upon its face. That's interesting. Wait, I think I know these ones.
Indeed. What these watches will do is bestow upon you costumes or armor and abilities based on these heroes. They will not actually transform you into the heroes, obviously, but you will gain their abilities, which hopefully you'll be able to use to fight against this darkness. It should be noted that, as you might have seen there, each of the watches is limited to 3 heroes. Unfortunately, the good magic is, of course, slightly compromised by the presence of the darkness within the hearts of those that power it, so we couldn't stretch it to get any more forms per watch out of it than that. There was a limit to both the magic and the tech. It should also be noted that the watches have what you might call a cooldown time between forms, so rapid switching back and forth is also not possible. So if you choose to remain with us, anytime you go into battle, you will have to think carefully about which of your 3 forms will be most apt for the villain at hand. So I guess the only question that remains now is whether the 2 of you believe in enough of what I said to remain, or whether this is where we part ways.
Still poking and checking out the watch, David then addresses Noah. Well, to be fair, I said I'd stick around until there was some proof, and the watch showing us stuff is pretty nice, but I'm going to actually try it out before I give you a yes or no.
As a team, as Noah nods, there's suddenly a ruckus as things begin shaking around them. Oh, that's not good.
Is this part of the tour?
No, not exactly. I was hoping we might get away tonight without having to do something like this. Come on. The rest of you keep monitoring. Let me know if you find out what's going on, Noah says to the rest of the people in the room, who begin frantically working on their computers. You 2 follow me. The three head back up the stairs through the Cinderella Royal Castle, Noah taking a moment to close the secret passageway before they run out of the castle and into the center of the park. When they arrive in the center of the park, they see a large dragon-type creature flying around, breathing fire toward the buildings and generally wreaking havoc. Oh dear.
Jeff looks up. The Jabberwock.
Very good, Mr. Chen. The Jabberwock didn't make it into our animated Alice in Wonderland film, but that was rectified in the more recent Tim Burton films, as you might be aware. Well, I suppose you asked for an opportunity to try this out, David. I suppose there's no better time than the present. It's a good thing the thing didn't attack while we were open. Lord knows how I would have explained that. Usually, based on our Disney villains, they're a trifle smaller. We can usually explain these altercations as publicity stunts.
Yeah, that's no publicity stunt.
No, not at all. Well, to use your watches, all you have to do is lift the face, twist it until you see the representation of the form you want to use, and then press it back down, and you will receive that form.
Sounds simple enough.
Jeff looks at David. Well, I guess we're in this for the long haul, huh?
Yes, well, assuming the Jabberwock doesn't burn us, then yeah, seems so.
Jeff unbuttons his the wrists on his shirt and rolls up his shirt before taking off his tie and glasses. After you, Dave.
All right. No time like the present. He opens up the face of the watch and spins the dial to the fluffy white person with the red armor. He then closes it back down. Upon activating, he is covered in red armor and has taken on a form similar to Baymax. This is actually kind of neat.
Jeff stands there slack-jawed.
Jabberwock roars from its position on top of one of the buildings.
Wow. Jeff walks up and taps on the Baymax armor as it makes a tink, tink, tink sound. Holy crap, that's actually metal.
Magic can do wondrous things when properly channeled.
Okay. He turns back to Noah. Before I do this, the two of us versus that? That's kind of not a fair fight.
I never said it would only be the two of you. Noah reaches into his pocket, revealing another of the watches that he grabbed on the way out during the ruckus. I work for Disney now, but 16 years ago, I was a dreamer like you. He places the watch on his wrist. But luckily, with my career, he opens the face of the watch, flipping it around to a young boy in green. I never had to grow up. He slams the head of the watch down. Being outfitted in a deep green costume with a hat and wielding a sword, he suddenly lifts several feet off the ground, floating. Care to join us?
Jeff smirks as he folds his glasses and puts it into his shirt pocket. You know, I always wanted to do this. Jeff flips the watch face open, rotates it to the third position, showing the small dragon. He then holds up his left arm and takes a big, deep breath. Dragon up! He slams the wristwatch down as red and gold armor appears around his body, the helm forming the face of a dragon. Large wings appear on his back as he too lifts off the ground. Wow. That's impressive.
Mr. Chen, we're all fans here, but do me a favor. Don't say that again. At any rate, we have bigger things to worry about. Let's see if we can take this thing down. Noah kicks off, flying toward the Jabberwock, pulling his sword from his sheath. All right, Dragon Boy, let's see what you can do. The dragon breathes fire in his direction, which he dodges under, spinning around the dragon, managing to taking a few sword strikes near its scaly back, but not having too much effect. Its hide is strong. We're going to have to find a way to pierce it.
Jeff looks down at his gauntlets as claws extend from his fingers. Whoa. Okay. Jeff takes off flying right at the dragon, swoops around behind the Jabberwock, and takes a swipe at the back of its neck.
The Jabberwock hollers in pain as it spins around, attempting to reach Jeff with one of its claws, but Jeff is too fast, flying out of the way. That's a good idea. I see you also remember the film. The Jabberwock's weak point was its neck. Alice beheaded it. Let's see what we can do with that. He turns around, flying in and taking a sword swipe near the area where the claws pierce the skin, deepening the wound. Shing, shing. There we go. David, any time now.
Got it. David begins running forward, trying to figure out how to fly in his suit. He then leaps, and rockets come out from below his feet, and he takes off and flies toward the Jabberwock. Oh, this is a bit... He crashes into its face and goes flying off and lands on the ground with a thud. It's okay. I'll get this. He struggles to get back up.
David, are you all right?
It's fine. I got this. He stands back up and rockets up, propelling himself upwards. Okay, there we go. Steadies his fist at the dragon and launches the rocket punch at it, and it flies at the creature's head.
What is it in my throat? A giant pillar of flame emits from Jeff's mouth, rocketing straight at the Jabberwock's face as it's rearing back from the rocket punch.
That is impressive. Just shows the magic is powerful within you two, as we expected. The Jabberwock takes the punch and the flame to the face as it falls off the building backwards into the woods near the Jungle Cruise. Did we get it? The Jabberwock rears up, flying into the air from back over the building. Nope, we didn't get it. Looks like this is going to be a dogfight. The three begin dodging and weaving around the Jabberwock, avoiding both the swinging of its tail and the fire that it breathes. We've got to get back behind it and take that wound out. See if you two can get around it and hit it a few more times, and then I might be able to drive the sword through it.
All right, can do. David flies off and tries to get into position.
You need to get it from behind. Jeff flies around in front of the Jabberwock and taunts it to get its attention. Once he's got its attention, he swings around as the tail of the armor lashes out and wraps itself around the Jabberwock's neck. He then flies straight at the ground, trying to pull the dragon's head down with him.
That is clever. I wouldn't have thought of that. Nicely done.
It's a good thing Jake Long has enhanced strength.
Quite.
David flies forward and grabs the dragon's head and begins to pull it with him, giving it more strength to bring the dragon down.
As the two pull the dragon's head, it begins tearing down toward the center of Fantasyland in the northeastern section of the park. It flaps its wings, attempting to fight against the pull, but it's been thrown off balance by the weight in front of it, and it cannot get a thermal to pull itself up. The two warriors and the Jabberwock hit the ground, the Jabberwock's head colliding and stunning it momentarily. That should be enough. Noah, wielding his sword, flies down, aiming his sword right at the dragon's now exposed neck wound, which is already partially cut. This might be messy. Bangarang! As he flies in, he brings the sword down on the Jabberwock's neck, slicing the majority of its neck clean off. The Jabberwock howls one last final yelp of pain. and then falls to the ground, dead. As the Jabberwock lays there, it begins to dissipate. All right, we got it down. Noah taps it. Noah adjusts his watch a few times, and all of a sudden a small magical box appears. He throws it toward the Jabberwock, and the darkness is pulled in. All right. He picks up the box. Another little invention we put together that we could summon from the watch. I'll teach you how to do that later. These connect directly into a separate storage unit, one that we developed that will at least last temporarily, long enough for us to repair the vault and then hopefully put them back in or find a way to destroy them, whichever happens first.
Jeff stands up and walks over to Noah. Bangarang? And you yelled at me for saying dragon up?
I didn't yell it when we started. It was a killing blow. We're all fans here. I never said I wasn't.
Right. So, yeah, how are you going to explain all this in the morning? Jeff motions to all the destruction of the woods and everything around them.
Well, luckily, magic is good for more than just transforming into heroes. My team downstairs has had to deal with these kind of attacks for several weeks now, and thus far we've been able to channel enough magic to repair everything before morning so no one is the wiser. And for those that occur during the day, well, we try to pass it off as a publicity stunt, and because things are quickly repaired, no one has caught on just yet, luckily.
Yeah, if this is one of the weaker of the things we're going to have to fight, that might change.
Oh, I'd imagine it's going to change sooner rather than later. One thing I noted about that Jabberwock, it's normally not that precise with its attacks. It was aiming its tail and flame very specifically to try to take us out. The Jabberwock is normally far more mindless than that, which can only mean that it probably wasn't working alone. The demon that possessed the Jabberwock must have been one of the lesser demons, and there's no way it was working that well by itself. Oh, how right you are! The team looks up on top of one of the other buildings as they see a man dressed in black and red, holding a golden staff. Greetings, gentlemen. I see you've taken out my beastie. Well, don't fret. I assure you there's far more to come from whence I brought him. Let me promise you this. We shall crush you like a street rat. He dissipates in red smoke, disappearing.
That is not going to be good.
No, it certainly isn't.
So not only are there cracks and the evil is escaping, they're now working together.
Unfortunately, I was afraid that might happen. We're going to have to do some reports on this. Hopefully I can at least get another ally in the next time this happens, so it won't just be the three of us. And as I mentioned, we do have additional members we could pull in depending on how severe the threat gets. Well, Noah adjusts his watch, transforming from his Peter Pan outfit back into the clothing he was wearing before. I guess now just leaves the question, are you two still in?
Jeff de-transforms. Well, after getting to fly around like Jake Long, how can I say no?
Yes, quite. David opens the watch and turns it back to return to his original form. You know what? I am, because I'd definitely say I was satisfied with this thing, so sure, I'll do it.
Glad to hear it. We'll, for the time being, we'll set you two up in residences in one of the resorts here on the property. Something befitting of the status of working with high-ranking Imagineers. And hopefully we can keep everyone safe from this darkness, at least until we can find a way to destroy it permanently or at least lock it back away.
Indeed. Jeff holds out his right fist to Dave.
David then bumps his fist.
Ba-da-da-da.
Ba-da-da-da. I've always wanted to do that.
I can imagine. Well, I thank you, gentlemen, for hearing me out long enough to see that below the surface, magic can be more than the outward appearance that is maintained, and for believing in me long enough to get this far. I do believe this is the beginning of a rather interesting journey. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the pilot.
Yay.
So what did you guys think?
That went well. It was an exposition dump, as you said.
That was what it was going to have to be to set up everything that we were doing. That's why I realized in retrospect I was going to originally have a longer monologue for Jafar, but at the point where we're at, I'm like, you know what? Let's just get out what he needs to say. He was controlling the thing. He's there. That's really all we needed to say.
Fair enough. I'll be honest. When I attacked the Jabberwock and I went for the neck, I wasn't thinking cut off its head. I was thinking, well, I'm flying. That's its highest point. Get around behind it to attack just because.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, that was fun. That was very well done.
Yay.
We'll find out more, and hopefully we'll have Chris the Mole to complete our cast next week.
Yay.
And we hope you'll join us for another adventure with the Disney Heroes. We'll see you next time.